Hello and welcome along to WD18, the Watford fan channel, and welcome to quite a busy stream we've got going on today. My name is Sam, joined by Charlie Zazzera. A lot to get into. Watford have played two pre-season friendlies in front of fans so far, which we'll be getting into the Stevenage game and the Boreham Wood game. But the big news, which is probably why a lot of you are going to be tuning in today on this Friday lunchtime, is that it looks like Wesley Hoedt and Yaser Asprilla could be on their way out of Vicarage Road. Before we get into it, Charlie, how are you, mate?
I'm good. I've come some zen, some positive vibes. That's one thing for the comments as we go on. Tell us something that we need to be positive about for the upcoming season, because I can feel the energy of this video might be interesting. And congratulations, Sam, for graduating yesterday. How was it?
Oh, thank you, Charlie. Appreciate it, mate. Yeah, no, it was a really, really good day. Quite special. And I put a tweet out yesterday, but obviously I used to document quite a bit in terms of my own struggles. But yeah, if you are struggling, just keep your head down, work hard, and the good things will follow. Let's hope good things for Watford next season, but it doesn't look like, with the way the transfer window is going, that it could be a really, really tough season ahead. Let's go in chronological order. Let's kick off with the Boreham Wood friendly, the first friendly in front of fans this season. We played a game against Reading behind closed doors, which I believe we lost 2-0 or 2-1. I can't even remember now. Sometimes pre-season just goes almost in one ear and out the other. But I was lucky enough to be at the Boreham Wood game. Charlie, I assume you watched the highlights. Before we actually get into it, how much do you like to read into pre-season and into results?
It probably it all depends about whether there's an international tournament or not. I imagine, like you're about to say, did you watch the highlights for the Boreham Wood? I wanted to be the one to lead this question because I will be completely honest. I've not seen anything about pre-season, so I've got this is a good opportunity for me to kind of learn a bit more. But yeah, results. It's more about. Well, you tell us, Sam. Boreham Wood. How was that?
Yeah, so I mean, I was one of the couple of hundred Watford fans who decided to take the hit and miss the first part of the England game, the England semi-final, to go to Boreham Wood away. I'm a club over country man personally, although it was great to see. I was gutted that England lost, and it was great to see the country get behind the team. But yeah, Boreham Wood, I was actually really, really impressed, to be honest with you. We did win 1-0, albeit Boreham Wood didn't miss a penalty in the second half. But I was comparing it to last year's game against Boreham Wood, where we drew 0-0 and we looked a lot sharper and looked a lot more like we knew what we were doing this time round. I think the two big things of note from that game is firstly the shape, and that was something really, really clear against Stevenage as well, is that almost the 3-4-3 with the two number 10s getting really, really narrow, which is opening up space out wide for the fullbacks to attack. In particular, Ryan Andrews across both games had a lot of space, I thought, to attack down the right-hand side. The left-hand side is still a bit of a concern for me, whether it's Ken Sema, who just seems to be a yard off the pace, or James Morris needs to work on his final ball. I think that's an area that we need to be looking at. But in terms of the shape, I think we look a lot more advanced from where we were this time last year, going into this season as well. But the other standouts for me were the young players. I thought really, really excelled against Boreham Wood. And I know it's against now they're National League South, I believe, after getting relegated last season. But in particular, Shaq Ford coming on in the second half, I thought was really impressive. Someone who doesn't look worried to take a risk. He can take his man on, and he's really, really brave. The midfielder, God, I can't remember his name now off the top of my head. Was it Ramirez? It might be. Ramirez, yeah, looked really, really positive in the Boreham Wood game as well as the centre half, Claridge as well, I think his name is. I thought was really, really strong at the back as well. So a lot of positives from that Boreham Wood game. I think at times it felt a lot like watching last season, where in terms of the build-up play was really, really good. But in reality, Watford probably should have been 4 or 5 goals up at half-time. Ince missed a few good chances. Ince was actually another really, really positive across both games, I thought. Here we go. Here come the top scorer again. Ince was a real positive, but yeah, Bio should have scored a couple. Rybich could have got a couple as well. So yeah, definitely I could tell it was pre-season, but the building blocks are there, I thought.
And what about Stevenage? Two things I want to ask. One, your mate Imran Loser, how did he get on? And also, am I hearing Kawando Bar as a 9.
We'll go off with the loser question first. First off, I thought as collective, I thought the Stevenage performance was a little bit slower than the Boreham Wood game. Firstly, because Stevenage are better opposition. I think they finished in the top half of League One last season. Really organised under Alex Ravel as well. They seem to be. Coincidentally, they scored the last kick of both halves as well, which was a real sucker punch. One of them was an absolute screamer as well.
Very Watford, that.
Very, very Watford pre-season, as I'm sure the season will go on to be. We'll see a few times, but yeah, I thought you could tell that they'd played 3 days before as well. So it's the nature of pre-season. But in terms of Imran Luz's performance, obviously he scored that penalty, and I thought he actually did okay against Stevenage. Against Boreham Wood, he did struggle. And I think one thing that I think seems to have improved slightly in his game, again, it's just pre-season, but he seemed to be okay off the ball. I thought the tempo, particularly that he was pressing at, looked really good, but on the ball, a lot of work needs to be done, which is quite surprising for someone of Imran Luz's quality. You'd think it was the other way around based on what we've previously seen. But Boreham Wood's penalty that they got in the first game actually came from Luzer giving the ball away. So he does probably need to slightly improve on the ball going into next season. But Kwadwo Baah, the name that I think a lot of Watford fans were shocked about, I forgot he was still at the club, to be honest with you. I did a video with Gabe Sutton recently, the EFL pundit, almost previewing Watford season. He said, do you think Kwadwo Baah could have an impact for Watford this season? And I almost had to double take the question because I was thinking, hello, is he? I thought he left 2-3 years ago, but yeah, he's still here and he looked really, really sharp. I know he's had his injury problems, but his goal was really well taken from the high press as well.
Which is and was he playing as the sole 9?
I think so. I'm trying to think back to last week now. But I mean, one thing I would say anyway with the front three is that they were all really fluid anyway across both games, is that they were able to interchange throughout. I think Baah at times was out on the right and at times was down the centre. So that's something really, really positive to see. And I think we probably need, I mean, another name I'll talk about in a second is Rocco Vata, who I think suits that perfectly in terms of that fluid front three. But also in the second half, Baah, the ball looked like it had gone out of play completely and Baah was able to keep it in and win a penalty. So that was also really good. He's another player, a bit like Shaq Ford. I felt he was really brave on the ball. He's someone who'll get fans off the edge of their seat. And look, it's probably maybe his last chance at Watford, I'd say. I mean, he must only have a couple of years left. So an opportunity for him to make a real impression this season. But the other man, Rocco Vata, Charlie, I know that you did a video recently with that Irish pundit as well. First off, do you want to summarise quickly what he said about Vata, and then I can compare to what I saw in the Stevenage game?
Yeah, Connor, he actually sent me a nice tweet after England lost straight on the full-time whistle, which was nice of him. But yeah, he was great. Spoke about Rocco Vata, basically his background. He's got a fascinating kind of family heritage, really. I'm trying to remember now. I think his dad's Albanian. His dad's like an Albanian football legend. I think his mum might be Scottish, but because he's he was born in Glasgow, but I think his grandmother's Irish, so he played for Ireland. But yeah, like apparently just a really, really highly thought of academy player at Celtic. Never really got the chance, and we've gone for him. We've had to pay a bit of compensation, but it's one of those deals where, do you know what I mean? With low spend, let's see how high a ceiling is. And it was interesting, like we're going to talk about Asprilla. When João Pedro left, I remember doing a tweet saying, I'm actually glad to see Watford have kind of got a contingency plan here with Asprilla, which I think has panned out pretty nice. We'll get into Asprilla if he goes. Do we have that replacement already? I'm not too sure, and I'm not too sure if Rocco Vata's of that ilk. But hearing what you just said about the two friendlies there, I think when we talk about positives, we're going to try and get some positivity on this stream. I think, and it's going to be good when we do our predictions video in a couple of weeks' time, but keep an eye out for these youngsters this season. I would not be surprised to see maybe 2 or 3 young lads break into the first team, and that could be something really, really special. So, and it's great to see Cleverley being creative and using Baah Quando Bar. Sorry, I think I butchered his name when we first started. So sorry if you're watching, mate. But yeah, I was really excited to hear that. So yeah, Rocco Vata, what did you make of him? What was the best things he did?
I thought it was really, really exciting. I think there were some really tidy touches in there. He did give the ball away a couple of times, but it was when he was trying to do some really ambitious stuff. He wasn't afraid to take on his man against a really physical Stevenage side. I think, again, you could tell it was probably his first game in pre-season, which makes me even more excited because I feel like he will ultimately get better with minutes. Just on the young players this season, I think, metaphorically, I think we've got a lot of unpolished diamonds potentially in there. I don't know if diamonds is a bit strong, but we've got a lot of players in there who, with a bit more experience and with a bit more sort of know-how around the game and a bit more nous, I feel like we could see some really, really exciting talents in there. And they're players who I think will get us off our seats this season in terms of Shaq Ford, Quadro Bar, Rocco Vata. And I think we're going to have to be patient as fans with them because I don't feel like they're necessarily going to hit the ground running immediately. But I know it's 2 games into preseason and it might just be preseason, but I've seen enough there to suggest that not necessarily they'll be starters for us, but they could have a role this season with their bravery and their almost excitement that they bring to the team.
How did Shaq Ford get on, and what position did he play? Was he part of the attacking unit?
So against Boreham Wood, Shaq was off the right, and he came inside a couple of times, which was really, really nice to see. Forced a couple of smart saves from the Boreham Wood keeper, who was actually really, really good as well. Honestly, I can't remember too much about the rest of the Stevenage game because, again, with pre-season, you sometimes get lost just catching up with other Watford fans that you haven't seen in a while. But yeah, he was another one that, based on what we heard from Leyton Orient fans last season, I think he won their Young Player of the Year as well down there. So yeah, he could be one to see, could be one to watch for this season as well, hopefully. Defensively as well, obviously we're going to come on to Wesley Hoedt in a minute, but I just saw you lift up the mug there for Yaser Asprilla. I think one thing that I'm sort of worried about in terms of both Matty Pollock and Yaser Asprilla this season, neither of them have played badly at all in either of the friendlies, but I think there was a real lack of pace in that back three, which I think could be a bit of a concern, particularly against Stevenage. I thought they exploited that once or twice against Boreham Wood. That was seen as well, although they didn't threaten too much. So I think we probably need to be looking at that area. But another man who did play in both games was Antonio Tikvik. Tikvich. I'm still not sure how to say it too much. I've got mixed feelings on him, to be honest with you. I thought he was good against Boreham Wood. I thought he was really strong, really solid. Probably not as good. I'm trying to think. Did he came on in the second half against Stevenage? I think it was.
How does he compare to someone like Wes Hoedt stylistically? And is he a big lad, big peroxide?
Yeah, he's tall. He's really, really tall. He's big. I don't think he's as good as Hoedt. I don't think he's as quick as Hoedt. But I've already seen enough to suggest that I feel he'd be a good option to sign up to have as an option this season, coming off the bench. I know there were originally rumours coming out. I think Lou Warnes tweeted it that Cleverley didn't fancy him. But supposedly, from what we've seen in the last 2 games, I've been relatively impressed to suggest that I think he could have a role. And particularly now that it looks like Wesley Hoedt could be leaving Watford. Let's break this one down, Charlie. When did the rumours first come out? Must have been Tuesday or Wednesday?
Yeah, it felt like yesterday or the day before.
Yeah, wow. It's I mean, to be honest with you, it's a story that hasn't really surprised me. I'll come on to why in a minute, but the source was originally coming out from Turkey, suggesting that Wesley Hoedt was in talks with Trabzonspor. I think that's how you say it. And it seems that over the last 48 hours, those talks have sped up. And I think it was reported yesterday, I can't remember by which outlet, that a deal is supposedly quite close with Wesley Hoedt. Now, Charlie, immediate thoughts. Watford's captain, I think, played the most minutes for us last season, but he's got a year left on his deal. Watford would be getting around £2.5 million for him, or euros. How do you feel?
Not great, really. I think we got him for about 1.6, like nearly 1.6 mil, something like that. So I'm sure this deal would get our money back. We know he's got a year left. I thought he was our player of the year last season. I thought he was absolutely excellent. He brought leadership when we needed it. He gave us some fantastic moments with like the long range goal. And I just thought he was so impressive last season. So to see this news again, I'm a bit disappointed in this one because although it might be seen on the business front or in the bank sheets that it's good business with a year left on his contract, we might get our money back. I don't think you can really is 1 or 2 million really going to move the needle for us to bring in a replacement as good as him. I seriously doubt that. I'd rather take the risk and potentially let his contract run out and have him for next season. Now we don't know the context of it. Of he might be itching for a move. I think we've heard he's quite an ambitious guy. Yeah. He's going to want to be playing at the top as higher level as he can. So if he wants to leave, then fair enough. Like I can understand it. But if he's kind of settled, if he enjoys it at Watford, but it's just the club are saying, look, we've accepted this offer because we're going to get our money back, I would not be happy, if I'm honest.
Yeah, it's an interesting one. Just in terms of him being an ambitious individual, I've been, as I said before, I have sort of been expecting Hoedt to leave this summer. As Charlotte says here, Hoedt said something about not wanting to play for a bang average championship club, which realistically we are. So I think it was either with an interview with the club or with Andrew French at the back end of last season. Hoedt said something along the lines of, I don't want to be playing for a club who finished so low down in the championship, or that's paraphrasing it. It was something along those lines. So ever since he said that, I have been thinking that, yeah, I think he could probably be looking for a move.
The only thing I'd say to that, you know what footballers like, and they punch for the skies, and it might just be that kind of, I don't know what the word is. Yeah, we've seen it as well with Tom Delly talking about promotion and stuff like that. These are ambitious lads, and they're going to want to reach the highest level. So, although he might be saying, I don't want to be playing in the middle of the championship, that might be his way of saying, look, we need to be aiming as high as we can, instead of him going, I don't want to play for Watford in the current state. So, and one thing I would say, a big caveat to this is we don't know the source. We know it's from Turkey. It might not be 100% accurate. So same with the Asprilla one. We should take these sources with a pinch of salt. And I'd always send people to either Andrew French and Adam Leventhal if you want that kind of reliable transfer news. But we know there's no smoke without fire. What's your overall feeling, and how big of an impact could it be if he does leave?
So I think at the moment, Wes Hoedt, if this is true, has probably been given an ultimatum, which is sign a new contract or we're going to sell you this summer with a year left. And I can understand why Hoedt doesn't want to sign that new contract. My problem isn't necessarily Wesley Hoedt leaving. My problem is who the replacement will be, because that is a huge, huge hole that would be in the center of defence. I think we know what Porteous, what Pollock, what Sierralta can bring to the table. Less so with Tikvich, but I think it would make Tikvich signing more likely. But Hoedt comfortably is our best centre-half. He's that left-footed centre-half. He's someone who we've seen can bring the ball forward. He did it against Boreham Wood as well. Nearly scored from the halfway line. Again, the keeper had to tip it over the bar. When he did that, I was thinking, here we are, we're back. But yeah, my concern is more who we'd bring in, because we could bring in someone of a younger profile who even, it might take some time, but could become better than Wesley Hoedt. Do I have faith at all that that's going to happen? Absolutely not. It doesn't feel like Watford at the moment are necessarily trying to, almost like we used to, buy cheap, sell on for more, and then repeat it again. It almost in a way feels a bit like asset stripping at the moment. Now, I know that's a big claim, considering a club like Reading is quite literally going through asset stripping at the moment. Their women's team have been shut down, for example. I mean it more in the looser sense that I feel like Pozzo knows at the moment that we're probably not anywhere near promotion credentials, and it would take a lot to get us anywhere near that. And I feel like he's almost preparing for becoming a mid-table, lower half relegation candidate in the championship, which is why I think he's trying to get the bigger earners off the books and trying to make as much money as possible at the moment. So in the loosest sense, I just feel it's asset stripping. So, like I say, my problem isn't Hoedt leaving; it's who we bring in, because I can't imagine we're going to bring an upgrade in.
Yeah, a couple of good points you mentioned there. If we were just a bit of context for the Wesley Hoedt signing, am I right in saying he came in January, not last season, the season before, when we were, don't know if we were struggling, but we were kind of scrambling around. Porto came in as well, didn't he? But I feel like we've done in quite a few seasons where we haven't performed, and we're trying to improve the squad. Like you said, he will be on big wages, so a well-run club would take this deal, but a well-run club would have a younger, better player coming in who wouldn't be anywhere near Wesley's wages. So, but I kind of emphasize that well-run club thing in the recruitment. We know the structure at the moment. I mean, there was some news over the summer, wasn't there, about Gianluca Nani? Is he doing like a dual role now with Ucko and Yaser? What is the recruitment? What does it look like at Watford? Like, I'm still not sure. Someone's putting together names, but doesn't seem as sophisticated as it should be, and we've seen that from previous years. So, yeah, I think it's on everyone's mind in terms of we're not confident they'd get a good replacement, but I just think, look what he done on the pitch last season. He would be a big miss. So, I'd be worried to see this one go through.
Definitely. Just on something I said before as well, and let us know in the comments, Charlie, is your fear more Wesley Hoedt leaving or not getting the replacement in? Because I think in some ways it would be. I think in some ways it would be logical to sell with a year left on his deal, and that is what I'm sort of thinking in the back of my head. That I do feel like if we have got an offer for him, it would make sense to sell him now, particularly if he's wanting to go. And as Rio said, can't find the comment now. Here we are. They're in the Europa League, and he's how old is Wesley now? 30 or so. This is probably going to be his last opportunity to play in Europe, pretty much in his career potentially. So I think it makes sense him going. I'm just so worried about. Yeah.
What we'll do after we talk about Yaser, we've got the squad depth chart which I can update, but I can show you what that would look like without Wes and Asprilla. And it doesn't make for good reading. When's the season starting?
About 3 weeks. 3 weeks.
3 weeks.
Yeah.
So we've talked about how many incomings we want for this squad to be where we think it should be.
Yeah.
And I do think that we're at an awkward time with the Euros, with the Copa America. Clubs are not getting players back yet because they're on holiday after their international tournaments. So Premier League clubs can't assess their squad and send players out on loan and stuff like that. We did hear Clev say a couple of weeks ago, didn't he? We were close to a couple. Kind of, I bet he's still waiting on that. So we know there's plans, and I suppose we should always be hopeful. But if we look at the last 5 years, history suggests that our recruitment hasn't been the best. So,
yeah. I'll tell you what. Just I've got 2 more questions on Hoedt, but just you reminded me there in terms of Clev saying that we're waiting on a couple.
The answer is this.
Get him in the number 6 role in the middle of the park. My worry with Clev's waiting on a couple of players, it just reminds me of that Slaven Bilic January, where supposedly he'd agreed deals for, was it Palestri and Garnacho, I think it was, or something like that.
Allegedly.
Allegedly, as well as a couple more names. I can't remember off the top of my head who they were, but Watford, Bilic had agreed the deals for them, and then said it's Watford needs to do negotiations. Watford just never got on with it and missed the opportunity to do it. So that's what I'm personally worried about with Clev sorting out the deals, then leaving the club to do it. I don't know. I'm just not confident with this board at the moment. My last 2 questions on Wesley Hoedt for you, though, Charlie. Number 1, if he goes, we know that Tom Cleverley wants an outfield captain. Who do you think would take the armband?
I think I know you've got a theory, but I think Clevs will stay loyal to Batman.
Even though he likes that outfield captain, though, on the pitch.
Oh yeah, that's a good point. Yeah, I didn't think about that. Yeah, perhaps he might give it to your man Sissoko, who you suggested. So I'm stealing that one off you. I just know he's close with Backman, but it's not. How important is the captaincy?
I think we've seen over the last few years it is quite important. I think obviously you need a team full of leaders and you need that leadership group. But I look at sort of the big figures in Watford history, and most in particular Troy Deeney, how big of an impact he was as a captain, and obviously Sissoko and even Wes Hoedt can't even lace Troy's boots in terms of as a captain. But I do think it is very important as well as having that connection with the fan base. Yeah, I think it will be Moussa Sissoko probably if he does move on. But my last question for you on Wes Hoedt before we move on to Yaser Asprilla, Charlie. Yes or no? Do you think this one will happen?
Sam, you're killing me. Do I think this one will happen? I don't know. It's head and heart. Like it's head and heart. I'm gonna go with my heart on this one and say no. I think Yaser's got more chance of leaving than Wes. What about you?
I think it is probably a deal that will happen. But I think we'll also learn a lot more tomorrow regarding if he's going to be in the squad at the Gillingham game, where I will be at the Gillingham game. So if you are there, make sure to come and say hello. Let's move on to Yaser Asprilla then. This is something that we've all expected this summer. This one isn't a shock at all. The news came out earlier this week. It must have been on Monday or Tuesday that a few Bundesliga clubs were interested, including Werder Bremen and Borussia Dortmund. Those talks with Borussia Dortmund or rumoured talks with Borussia Dortmund seemed to speed up and then sort of went quiet again in the back end of the week. But then all of a sudden last night, the rumour comes through that we're in talks for a £25 million deal from Saudi Arabia. I can't remember which club it was, Charlie. Do you know which Saudi Arabian club it was?
El Attihad, I think.
El Attihad. So they're the rumours at the minute that Yaser Asprilla could be off there for £25 million. Charlie, immediate thoughts?
Shall we hear what Jacob's got to say? Jacob sent a voice note early this morning. So it's about a minute or a minute and a half long. Sam, let me know if you can hear this all right. And in the comments, let me know if you can hear this okay.
Morning, guys. I only had one point really about the Asprilla news, and it was just on sort of some of the reaction actually about him and him taking this move to Saudi and stuff. And I've seen people say, "Oh, it's a lack of ambition. He's going for the money," which he probably is. And don't get me wrong, I would have liked to have seen him gone to like a big European club like a Dortmund and see if he would fly. I mean, from a Watford point of view, it's a great fee for us, like a great fee. I mean, 25 million is probably 10 million more than we all expected.
Ka-ching.
I'm kind of defending Asprilla a little bit here because that amount of money that he's going to receive is probably going to be like 100 grand a week, right? And for him and his family, that is a life-changing amount of money. Like the fact that he's only 20, the fact that he secured a contract that will literally change him and his family's life. And he probably will get a move to Europe at some point. So he's basically set himself up for life here with this move. And I think it's unfair that some people are some people say it's like lack of ambition, a lot of criticism, and what a waste of a career. And it's like, well, it would be a waste of a career if he was like in his prime, but actually he's only 20. So it's a bit of and he's going to get that move to Europe anyway, in my opinion. Don't get me wrong, as I said, I would have liked to have seen him gone to like one of the big 5 leagues in Europe and take off. But from what point of view, what a deal for us. I mean, to be fair, it's only a good deal if we reinvest it back into the players and back into the squad. But number 2, I think people are criticising him for taking this move, which financially is obviously massive for him, when in reality it's a sum of money which I think a lot of people in his position wouldn't turn down. So, yeah, that's pretty my take on it. Let me know what you guys think.
There's a lot to unpack there. Shall we talk about kind of our overall feelings first, and then maybe some of the subjects within it? Yeah, Sam, I don't know if you saw the news break last night or first thing this morning, but initial thoughts?
Yeah, it was the first thing this morning job for me. This one hurts less than the Hoedt one in a way because I was expecting it. But on the other hand, what a phenomenal sum of money that is, 25 million. I said, I think at the end of last season, I'd be shocked if we got over 10, 12 million for him. So the fact that we're getting 25 for him, I think for Watford is a fantastic piece of business, which along with the Kone deal should, I mean, again, the question, like Jacob said, is will it be reinvested? But in terms of the model of bringing in players cheap and then selling them, developing them, selling them on for a bigger fee is exactly what I think they're aiming to do still, albeit there have been more misses than hits recently. But yeah, again, it is losing that massive bit of quality in the squad, which is a concern. How are you feeling about it, Charlie?
Yeah, I'm a bit more balanced than the Wesley Hoedt. Like, we've seen this one coming. We saw his reaction kind of on the final whistle the last day when he did a lot of waving. And he hasn't got too much game time in the Copa America, but he's been busy out there at the moment, which probably a reason why a deal hasn't happened yet. Look, we know how talented. I talked at the top about kind of him being that the next João Pedro, and I think that's my biggest issue with this one is, do we have the next Yaser Asprilla? We've got Georgie Chatfadazzi, Roccavata, Shaq Ford, Tom Ince, Hurtado. I'm not confident that any of those are at the level of Yaser. But I think that fee, what did we pay for him? Maybe 3 million or something like that in total.
Yeah.
So in terms of that profit, 25 million, I think you were saying 10 million. I think we're all saying if we can get 15 and maybe with add-ons 20 million, we'd be happy. We have got the Kone money as well. I wanted to talk about kind of last 3 seasons and money in a bit, but yeah, I 25 million. I think you'd be happy with it in terms of kind of where he's going in Saudi. Me personally, I don't think I'd ever go. It wouldn't be a move I'd do. But then again, I've never been in a position to have that offer and had to make that decision. We're seeing a lot more younger players now. The Celta Vigo Spanish lad, Gabriel Vega, I think he went over there. And like Jacob said, he's only 20. He could do 2 or 3 years, become a multi-millionaire. Like Jacob made a good point. He'll be on. I can't imagine he'll be on more than 10 grand maybe a week at Watford. So he could 10 times his wages, which is absolutely crazy. So I'd just say good luck to him if that's what you want to do. And yeah, there'd be no surprise to see him come back to Europe and reach levels that he can do.
Yeah, I think it's because he's at such a young age, but these moves are becoming more common. I think it might have been that Celta Vigo player. I think Tony Cruz put a tweet out last summer saying something like players need to stop doing this, but it's a life-changing sum of money for Asprilla and his family. So yeah, I don't begrudge him for taking it at all, and it is a really good bit of money for Watford. Yeah, the concern, like you said, is we don't have that ready-made replacement in the building, and again, it's a huge drop-off in quality, and I think it puts a lot of responsibility on Georgie Chatfadazzi's shoulders as well. So a player who, as good as he can be, I think at times was a tiny bit inconsistent last season, and also struggled with a couple of injury problems as well. So yeah, it's not a surprise, but I feel like this deal is one that could speed up over the next week or so now that the Copa America is over. I think it's important to show, though, that Andrew French did tweet, was it early this morning? Andrew's about to go off on holiday, so if you are watching, hope you have a good holiday, mate. Should be able to see that now. But Andrew did tweet saying that he's genuinely heard nothing concrete about Hoedt with 1 year left in his contract, and Asprilla, who was told, and Andrew was told many weeks ago that only a big offer would interest Watford. He's off on holiday today for 10 days, but he'll update us should he hear anything. Now, obviously, last week Andrew did also put to bed those Andy Weimann rumours as well. When that
was a fun couple of hours.
You should have seen the W18 group chat. Absolute gold that night. So yeah, I think we can probably take Andrew's word for it that there is, nothing that he's heard. So I think that could calm a couple of nerves for a bit. Although I do think the Asprilla deal is one that could go through. Charlie, yes or no? Will Yaser Asprilla be off come the end of the summer?
I'm going to say yes, unfortunately. I'm going to say yes, but I'm kind of playing a bit of negative tactics and think he don't, because I think he could be the difference to us finishing particularly low or mid-table. There might not be a big difference for that, but he's that good. But yeah, I just think, especially with that kind of money, the Pozzos will not turn that down. Quickly put on screen our squad depth, what it would look like without Hoedt and Asprilla. And I think Sam's right to mention what Andrew's tweet, that the sources that have broke those stories, we don't know how reliable, so this might all be for nothing and we might have just wasted our time. But just wanted to highlight kind of that squad depth of what the reality of Watford squad could look like next season. Yeah.
Wow.
Sam, any initial thoughts?
Charlie, I know you are allergic to the R word, but
you can't say the R word. You can't say the R word.
That team could genuinely get relegated. I'll go as far as saying that. Or we will at least be in a relegation battle without serious reinforcements come next season. Because, I mean, you look at how weak that centre-back depth is as well. One injury to the centre-backs and we're in trouble again in that position. Strikers, I think we lack real quality in terms of players who can finish those chances. A big hole to fill with Ishmael Kone going out. So there will be signings. There will be more signings. It's just about the quality of them, isn't it? And I'm seriously worried, to be honest with you.
I've taken that squad depth shot away in case anyone gets too upset. And I've been joking to Sam that we've got a couple of new ideas coming up, a new charity initiative. Every time he says the R word, I want him to donate £5 to the charity. But
is that not a fair for you, though, Charlie?
I just can't allow myself to think about that. Like, I know when you look at it in the cold light of day, like, yeah, the squad's the worst it's been in ages. But like, football's a funny thing. Do you know what I mean? There's loads of teams in there. Klebs did a great job when he come in. We're not going to go up. I can guarantee you that. But as it stands, I think we've got enough to stay up. And yeah, let's at least wait 5-10 games next season, because if we're all going into games thinking we're going to be relegated and that kind of energy eats onto the pitch at home games, if first couple of home games, if we're not winning by 70 minutes and we're moaning and groaning, we know that's never gonna kind of help the players. So I just won't allow myself to think about that, but we'll have to see how it unfolds. We've
read the Pozzo script before. Do you worry for Tom Cleverley? Do you feel like he's being almost thrown under the bus here a bit with this squad that he could potentially be given?
Yeah, history suggests that. Do you know what I mean? It won't end well for Clevs, but again, I'm a glass half full kind of guy. I'm a hopeful kind of guy. Surely the Pozzos have run out of bloody managers now to hire. Like,
we'll be doing it.
Yeah, like, I don't even want to think about that, to be honest. Like, coming off the England defeat, and I thought, right, let's get back into Watford. Like, let's get our head into this. Let's get excited. And then last couple of days with these transfers has kind of dragged me down a bit. But football's a funny game. Clevs could be the next Kieran McKenna. Let's see how we get on, but let's support the boys from the off no matter what.
That's Charlie saying that the title charge starts now for next season. Another pre-season game tomorrow then, as mentioned earlier, Gillingham away. Anything particular that you want to see in there, Charlie? I know it is just pre-season, but I think the news came out earlier that we're expecting Shafatatsi, Porteous and Musa Sissoko all to come back into the fold. Sissoko to make his second debut for Watford as well. Be a case of just seeing those three names. I think mainly will be the big one to watch tomorrow, won't it?
Yeah, I can't believe how early Shafatatsi came back. It felt like, I don't know if I've just got all my times wrong, but it felt like he was back pretty quick after the Euros. You can watch this one, can't you, on Hive Live?
Yeah, for
£5. So I'll be doing that tomorrow. I think mainly looking forward to seeing what Rocco Vata's got in the locker. He's obviously played first, so let's see that. I'm interested to see the shape of the team, the energy kind of out of possession, who looks bright on the ball. And I think you said it earlier, you're right, Wes Hoedt. That's going to be interesting to see whether he's in the squad or not.
Yeah,
one thing I did just quickly want to run through, and I don't know if it's too negative to show that, but when we're talking about transfers and Watford, one thing I kind of wanted to look back on is how much we've got in profit from player sales, which I can quickly do now. So last 3 seasons after relegation, we made in 22-23 42 million. Is that right? Yeah, 42 million in profit on player sales.
Are you able to zoom in at all, mate?
Yeah, no.
By the way, yeah, lovely stuff.
So yeah, 22-23 we made 42 million on player sales. In 23-24, 52 million in player sales after selling João Pedro, Ismail Assar. And then if you look at this season, we've got the Kone money, and if you add up the Hoedt and Asprilla, it could be up to 40 million in player sales. That might be 40 million euros instead of pounds. That might not be 100% accurate, so don't take my word for it. But my point I kind of wanted to make was just how, just kind of big picture stuff, how financially, how much of a big impact that COVID, that Premier League season when we got relegated affected us. If you look at our wage bill, it must have been pretty big with some of the players we had on that, getting relegated during that COVID season, not getting that TV money, even kind of the deals that we've made on Ismail Assar, and then it's taken us 4 or 5 years still repaying that. Look, there's a big story and a big talking point to talk about Gino and where the money's going and stuff like that. Is he going to reinvest ownership? Is he trying to get his money back, etc.? But I just thought that was quite an interesting point and a really fair point, because the profit we've made in player sales, we haven't seen any of it getting made, used back for kind of arrivals. So hopefully is that kind of a sign to come for the future in terms of where Gino's had in terms of selling it. And I've said it a couple of times when we talked about potentially selling the club. He would be making a lot more money if we put a good squad together and we were performing better and we were a lot better attractive proposition. So if he's just trying to recoup the money and we're going to fall down and down, that's going to cost him even more money in the long run. So hopefully we can see in the next couple of weeks some transfer activity that can get us a bit more hopeful going into the new season.
Yeah, definitely. And talking of transfers as well, we'll be back on Monday, I believe, where we'll be doing our video where we'll be looking at one potential loan signing from every Premier League club. An exciting one. I think we did it. Was it in January or last summer? I think we did it as well.
Yeah, bit of fun. Like, we know that Klebs has talked about kind of using his contacts, and we think that loan signings are going to be vital for us in terms of what our budget is. So yeah, one loan signing from every Premier League club between you, me, and Jacob. But anyone watching in, send your suggestions in. We can bring them up and discuss them. And also, we've been kind of working away in the background, and we've got some kind of exciting new content coming. So please make sure to follow us on Instagram and on TikTok, and keep your eyes peeled, because there's going to be some new content dropping, which we hope you guys enjoy. I think the links for those for Instagram and TikTok are in the description. So make sure that you check those out. And yeah, we'll be back on Monday. And Sam, have a good day. A good day at Gillingham.
Cheers, Charlie. I did feel at times that string was a little bit downbeat. So let's end it off then, as you said at the top of the show. Give me one thing you're excited about for next season as it stands. I think we'll end every video like this from now on, just always on a positive note.
I'm looking forward to seeing Tom Cleverley integrate some of the younger players.
Love it.
I think we saw it at the back end of last season. He obviously worked with the under-18, so he knows the players, he knows their capabilities. Sometimes when we've had different managers, they're not even going to watch young players, so they don't know what they're capable of. So, and I think if we can get a stable team and kind of blood some players in, so we're not fighting relegation, and really give them a platform, we could go back to yesteryears when we see like a Sean Murray or a Marvin Sordell burst onto the scene, and hopefully that'll give the feel-good factor back. So that's what I'm holding on to this season for my positive vibes.
Love it. I'm going for I really like the rawness of some of our players and how exciting they are. They're not going to, they're very really unpolished and they're not the finished product. But the likes of Ford, Bar, Vata, I've seen enough in pre-season already to suggest that they could be really, really exciting. Charlie, thanks so much for joining me, mate. Make sure to like and subscribe to WD18. We'll be back, as we said, next week for some really exciting content. Make sure to follow us on all our socials, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok to keep up to date with the latest Watford news. And we'll see you all soon. Up the Hornets.
Yellow.